Well, thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Nick. AASHTO was a critical partner in this research. I'll tell you, we never saw such a response rate in terms of interacting with state DOTs, providing substantial data. I'll talk in a moment about that, but we had 47 of 50 state DOTs, respond and provide, again, considerable input and insight onto this topic. I'll just take 10 seconds really quickly to give you my ATRI infomercial. We're a 501c3 not-for-profit research arm of the trucking industry. All of our research is posted on our website free of charge, available for downloading. We probably have more than a dozen truck parking related studies on our website that may be useful and beneficial to your activities. I will also briefly say our ATRI board of directors is made up of presidents, CEOs, and chairman of these companies. They're not on the phone with us today, so I'll skip over and tell you our research advisory committee is equally important. It's federal government, state government, motor carriers, law enforcement, truck driver groups. In fact, I see Dan Palmy in Tennessee is online with us, and Dan is a former RAC member, as we call it. All of our research that we do has to have sort of the imprimatur, excuse me, of our RAC, including all the truck parking research that we've been doing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of background quickly. ATRI surveys thousands and thousands of motor carrier executives every year in our top industry issues report, thousands and thousands of drivers, motor carrier executives, everybody. And truck parking, among thousands and thousands of respondents, was the number 2 issue in 2024. What's really interesting, though, and Nick alluded to this, when you separate out truck drivers from motor carrier executives, truck parking has been the number 1 issue for truck drivers 4 of the last 5 years. It's certainly not a brag to tell you that truck parking just showed up in the last couple of years on the motor carrier side. They're not out there day to day experiencing the shortage, the challenge of finding legal parking, the fear of having to park in an unauthorized location like a shoulder or a clover leaf. So it is a big issue, and we're fortunate that everybody from ATRI to AASHTO to the state DOTs to the US DOT to Congress is now rolling up their sleeves and trying to tackle this challenging issue. One of the things I wanted to share is, excuse me, we have almost 1 million trucks worth of GPS data in real time in North America that we use for a whole bunch of different research studies. When you look at the truck parking issue, though, and apply the GPS data, you can start to see the supply and demand challenges we have. Now, this is an Iowa rest stop, a public rest stop, and because we know how many spaces are available, we can tell you it's at overcapacity. What's less prominent, though, is if you look way to the right on the exit entrance ramps, now you see trucks starting to park. The dots, of course, the pings are color-coded, and red is stopped. So this is a problem, given that 2/3 of all car truck rear-end crashes that involve a fatality is the car rear-ending the truck. So we have to obviously do everything we can to reduce the safety crisis. We see the same thing, though, at private truck stops. This happens to be the largest truck stop in the United States, in Iowa. Again, similar situation. When private truck stops are at or over capacity, trucks start parking in locations that can create at least inefficiencies, if not safety concerns. So I'll get to then what we're talking about. AASHTO and ATRI rolled up our sleeves. We put together a data collection form. Again, 47 of 50 states responded with substantial data, to be honest. I might just put in another thank you plug to Daniel Palmy, because he also did a lot of review and comment for us. So we sort of corroborated or validated state data with the truck driver survey and came up with a series of findings. I'm just going to give you a vignette of topics, less so on the findings, just as a teaser so that you can go grab the report on either ATRI's website or AASHTO's. One of the things we did is we looked at both number of spaces, and I should say that this was very deliberately picked by a research advisory committee to focus on public rest area truck parking. Fair amount of research is underway or has been completed on private truck stops. There's no question that 80% of all truck parking spaces are private truck stops, but the 1 in 4, 1 in 5 that are represented by public rest areas are extremely critical to truck drivers for myriad reasons. And I'll cover those. But again, we have spaces per rest area and total spaces, public sector spaces per state. So any state can go to either the report or the website and sort of see where you fit among peers and other regional states in your area. So again, you can do comparisons across regions by state. We did collect up data both on the cost per space and the cost for maintenance budgets. And we came up with a series of per sort of truck parking space per capita dollar figures that could be useful. We also identified amenities. No question, amenities are critical. And the good news is, more than 90% of state DOTs provide, core amenities, which is very, very important. I point out here, restrooms were one of the most influential factors, and I always get asked, and I'll just beat the question right now, what's number one? And number one is proximity to either pickups or drop-offs. As e-commerce comes into play, no question, proximity is going to change from where traditional public rest areas, many of which were designed and constructed in the 50s and 60s, early 70s even. So we need to sort of reinvestigate what different business models in freight, e-commerce, last mile, you name it, what that does to truck parking. And that sort of is another phase of some of the state DOT research on truck parking that we see underway right now. Very interesting though, we're not seeing a lot of land acquisition coming into play for new capacity, but creatively, and to avoid the whole NIMBY issue, a lot of state DOTs are looking at taking existing government land, many times closed facilities like way stations, welcome centers, you name it, and converting that. And it's a great cost savings. And generally speaking, with trash containers and bathrooms placed in there, Ohio State DOT, Randy Lane just installed some really nice, relatively inexpensive restrooms at a series of different Ohio locations. That's more than adequate now. But I will tell you that the trucking industry itself has a lot of work to do, because a lot of truck drivers are still concerned that even if it's a closed way station or inspection location, that they're still going to get ticketed or inspected. So that sort of truck driver fear, we need to overcome that so that we can leverage this option. Safety features, big issue for us in the trucking industry. As you know, driver shortage is a huge thing. Constantly trying to struggle to find new populations, new drivers. Women are 47% of the US workforce, but only about 4.2% of over-the-road truck drivers. Safety and security is a big issue for them. So we did look at safety features at rest areas. Sure enough, here you can see, the critical fencing, cameras, lights, of course, are way up there. But then we start to get down into some other opportunities that sort of fade relatively quickly. Regular patrols, since the state patrols are on the interstate system, the national highway system anyway, relatively easy to do. If we can focus on safety and security, we think we can maybe increase the number of women truck drivers, who happen to be, by the way, 20% safer than men truck drivers in other ATRI research that you can obtain. I'm wrapping up now. I just wanted to share that on our website, all of these metrics are available on a dynamic interface that we've created linked to this research. You can go to any one of these locations, just move your cursor over it, and then up pops these and many other metrics. There is an opportunity to look at a rank order index that we created using these primary metrics identified by both AASHTO members and trucking industry stakeholders. And so you can sort of see where you fit in this. And we're very happy to say, again, Randy Lane at Ohio DOT, their legislature added almost $100 million, I believe it was, over 5 years, that is now going to be used for truck parking capacity improvements. And Randy's very proud to say he went from number 4 in the list to number 1 in the list in terms of total truck parking spaces. The trucking industry loves that kind of competition, Randy. So hopefully your peers join in. And with that, Nick, I'm wrapping up. We could take questions now or later. Again, all of our research is available at our website free of charge. If you put your name and contact information into the contact database at the website, we push all of this research back out to you. And lastly, one more big thanks to Daniel Wonke and Ashto for all their good work on this.
Okay, great. Thanks, Daniel and Dan. I guess one question I had was, that's really great research and a lot of good information there. And in terms of next steps on that research, where do you see, the trend going, or are folks taking this information, and are there any action plans that are going to take place, or is each state pretty much doing their own thing? Where do you see things on a national level as well? I guess there's a couple different questions there. So,
Sure.
and
I
either
have
of
a
you
couple
feel free to
comments on
answer.
that, Daniel, but do you want to go first in terms of where you feel the states are moving now?
Sure. I think, we don't have any formal plans for the use of this study in particular, but certainly are advocating at the federal level on, the need for truck parking funding and, the flexibility for states to use their formula dollars for that. A lot of states also struggle with the operations and maintenance side of truck parking facilities. And so certainly that's part of our policy plan as well. Our special committee on freight really looks at dealing with, these policy issues. And I think, the study would definitely be something that we can point to in terms of, where the needs for public truck parking are in the country.
And Nick, I would just probably add, we're involved or have been involved, sometimes using our truck GPS data for utilization metrics, but I think we've been involved in up to 36 different state DOT truck parking studies. And what I'm really excited about is most states now are on phase 2, and in some instances, phase 3 of their truck parking reports. And what I see in those newer phases of state DOT truck parking reports is the identification of shovel-ready projects. So they move beyond, what does the supply and demand look like at any one facility, to let's figure out where the capacity is needed and start to develop design and budgeting parameters for those facilities. So that's an exciting development in my mind.